Guys, we're at SEMA Show 2025 right here. We're with Matt and we're with Snow. They've worked on over 50 EV conversions, so they have a ton of knowledge in this exact space. We're actually standing right in front of a car that they built the motor for and worked on. So, I mean, while we're here, do you want to kind of start off at telling them what this car kind of is, what you guys did to it, how much it costs, what's kind of going on with the car itself?
All right, well, I mean, it's obvious what the truck is. The truck is a 66 C10, and it has, you know, a modified large drive unit in it. Well, the Welshman and I, we built the motor for this truck. So we built the motor for this truck, and we'll look at a couple of others, but essentially you pull out all of the ICE running gear. That's the motor, the transmission, the exhaust, the fuel tank. So before we go too far, I want to introduce you to somebody. Rob, what's up? This is Rob Ward. Rob Ward is the founder of Legacy EV. So they do training and stuff, and this is Rob's truck. Can you tell me about your truck?
I started working on this truck 5 years ago. It's a personal truck, and when you have a company that's building cars, your personal truck is the first project to get delayed to work on other stuff. So for me, it's a really exciting build to have finished. It has the Revolta CR43 in it.
One thing that is a little massage in there. It's not 800 pound-feet of torque. It's 950.
Okay.
How long did this build take to get to the final product that we're looking at right now?
So the truck was a pile of parts when I got it. So chassis fabrication, motor mounts, battery mounts, paint, interior, every bolt on it's brand new. So that entire process, if we took all the pauses out, it probably would have been about 1.5 years, maybe closer to 2 years.
What kind of battery is inside here, and like how do you guys basically make sure when it comes to doing these conversions that the battery is the right size, right fit? Like, do you have to pre-plan that for the car, or how does that work?
Well, definitely, and we say this all the time, the biggest challenge in building an EV conversion is the battery system. One, you have to fit it to whatever platform you're putting it in, and then two, you have to do your battery management system, and you have to do all the associated components, charger, DC-DC converter. So that stuff does take a little bit of time. So I'll let Rob tell you a little bit about what happened with this particular truck, and then we'll talk about other ones as we go through other projects.
Some manufacturers have a battery that would come with their system, and those are pretty much already, you know, designed to work with that motor. But that's kind of newer. I would say, I mean, you don't go back that many years and everyone's using used Tesla modules and setting up their own battery pack, or even like NMC cells and building a custom pack. But we've kind of, the industry's matured out of that into you know, manufacturers who manufacture a pack, and then it's a question of, well, how do they do that? What are they trying to make it work with? Are they trying to make it work for a 100-volt system, for a 400-volt system? What's their desire, and then how can we put those together? You bring up BMS. This one we're using APP packs. I think they're 18 kilowatt hours a piece. There's 4 of them, and the BMS is an external BMS, so it's not built into the battery pack. It means there's a lot of wiring. Having the BMS integrated makes it easier for the installer to make the system a little more plug and play.
And as far as the wiring aspect of it goes, the Welshman here, he's pretty much the wiring expert on almost all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. Like I said, the BMS is, I think, a thing that a new builder, the battery management system is BMS. I think that's a thing that a lot of new builders will overlook. We've heard a lot of people buy a kit from a company I was working at, and man, we're almost there. We got the motor in, all the drivetrain's done. We'll be, we're halfway there. Yeah. I would say the high voltage is easy. High voltage is easier than the low voltage. Battery management is I would say, biggest stumbling block for people. So if you start with your batteries and you plan around it, spec your motor and the rest of your drivetrain around the battery pack, it's much less painful way to do a build.
So this is the second car we have right behind us right now. This is probably one of the, if not the coolest cars I've seen personally at SEMA Show right now.
Well, thank you.
And even just the interior, looking at it, I mean, I'll let you guys kind of talk more about it, and the battery, all this kind of stuff. What's really going on behind us right now?
Okay, you've had situations where, oh man, I had this thing and I had to do that and I had to do that. that's what people would probably say about the story of getting this car to this condition. So we have a friend, and we'll just leave it at Dan.
Okay.
So Dan asked me about an Eso Revolta. What is that? I've never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of an Eso Revolta?
I never heard of it
No.
till yesterday. Yeah.
Exactly. So, we talk about it, and Dan says, I want to convert it to electric. I was like, oh, okay, well, I have a guy that can do that, And then Dan says, well, it's going to cost me to ship that car to, LA from Arizona. You guys want to drive it? Say less.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dan shows up, he gives us an envelope full of money, right? And we start driving across the country.
And it's just, the car's not run for a long time, so it's running worse and worse and worse. It's kind of like it's clogging pilot jets. Where are we gonna find parts for this to get it? And it's smoking like crazy out of one bank. Oh man, wait a second. When this car was new, it came with a Chevy 327 and a Borg Warner 4-speed. So we pull right into AutoZone, get all the parts we need for a 1965 super rare Italian car, rebuild the carburetor, put a bunch of motor honey in it to get it home, and that thing would have made it cross country.
Now, fast forward, we get the car to LA, right? When we get the car to LA, the boys at Current, they pull the motor out, strip the car down, and then I get a call. He's like, man, you are lucky. What are you talking about? You're lucky you and the Welshman didn't die. I was like, what do you mean? There was only like one, bolt left holding the rear end in place. All the other mounts had rusted out.
Wait, he tells me the story. I'm like, what? All the bolts fell out? It's like, no, all the metal fell out. Like, nothing. If you take a look over here, this entire back end, Jack put a back end off a completely different car on it. There was nothing salvageable from the rear wheels back. There was nothing.
And you can see here, he cut the whole back end of the car off. So if we go over here, that picture, all of this completely gone. So Jack fabricated this tail section, smoothed it out, and this thing is smooth as a baby's butt.
And credit to Dan, because he committed. We told him all this, man, this car is rough. It's gonna be a lot more work, a lot more time than you thought. No, I want it.
But he said he wanted it, right? And this is one of my biggest anxiety in building this car is I hope Dan likes it. When he sat in the car and he does this on the wheel and he goes, I knew we were there. So we had, Dan found the expert on these cars. Dan ordered that leather from Italy. The gauges are still in Italian. It's the original steering wheel, but that's been refurbished. So the whole car has been refurbished. Mario Campanera painted this car with it's Corso red. And what most people know it as Ferrari Racing Red. And this is what Dan's daughter, she was like, no, it's gotta be red. Because Dan wanted like a gray, color. And she's like, no, Dad, it has to be red. And when he saw it, he was like, she's right, it has to be red. So this car is truly a unique build. We got classic Ferrari wheels on it. And what you see here that you don't see on a lot of EV conversions, we still have a trunk. So you could literally put a set of golf clubs in there, not much more, but the batteries have been strategically placed so that the car maintains a really good balance like it did originally, and we still have our storage space. So I don't have the key with me, but here is the DC fast charging plug. So it's level 3 charging. So you still have your J1772 and you have the DC fast charging ports. So now, as we come around here, this is something that really needs to be seen. So if you look at this was all handmade by California Upholstery, and Joe did a great job on this. He fabricated everything here from a flat piece of leather, right? The car looks very much and very true to its original condition, but the difference, we had to put the lights in for your gear selector, but to the layman, walking up and looking at this car, you'd think it's original. All right.
Well, my favorite thing about the whole car, I think, is the gauges, because they're the original gauges, rebuilt, remanufactured with electronic internals to show relevant EV information, to the point where one of those dials there is the AC temperature. So it's automatic climate control.
Yep.
You flip one of those Lucas switches to turn the automatic climate control on, and that gauge will swing to the temperature that you set it at, and then it'll automatically turn the air conditioning on, the heating on, whatever it needs to do to maintain that temperature.
So in the last car, when we were over there, we talked a lot about like the battery, the BMS, right? Big issue, really hard. People don't really think about it.
Right.
This car, I love the saying, it's the little things that count, right? There's a lot of little things on here, but also big things like cutting that back off, right?
Yeah.
So was this kind of like, you would say the battery wasn't a hard part as like other parts of the car, you would say, or was it still the battery and the BMS that was the most difficult part to figure out?
Well, I'm going to punt. I'm going to let him take the brunt of this question, but I think the battery management on this particular car is easier because we build it modular. So we have 3 different boxes, one here, one where the gas tank used to be, and one in the trunk. So now as far as the wiring goes with the BMS,
these are, like Rob was saying, he used external BMSs, we're using internal BMS. So all that comes out of these packs for the battery management is a little shielded communication cable, goes from one to the next to the next. So this one at the front controls the other 2.
Okay.
And they all talk, they report their voltage, they report their temperature, and then the car will respond accordingly, tune the cooling up, whatever it has to do to keep them, happy. On the wiring side, this is a much simpler way to do it.
What kind of modules are inside of here?
That's actually an interesting one. So it's VDA modules, which is
E-Power?
E-Power, who makes them. It's a standard form factor. It's a standard size. Lots of different manufacturers make batteries this size with the nice bolt down. These cells were made for this car because we got 600 horsepower. Regular VDA modules with one in parallel just won't support that. So these are built for, I think it's 1500 amps burst for like 20 seconds.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to top this car. This is amazing, but let's go see what else they worked on. So the last car we were with, I said, it's gonna be hard to top that one. And now that I'm looking at this, even when we got here, it was just a crowd of people around here the whole time. We actually have the owner of the car, Anthony, right here. So, this is just on a whole nother level. If you want to talk to a bit about what's kind of going on behind us.
So right here is a 58 Corvette, or at least mostly what's left of it. The body is the original 58 Corvette. It's sitting on an Art Morrison chassis. There's a good reason for that. Art Morrison sells very sturdy chassis. They're really thick sidewalls, or check them out if you haven't already. Particularly on the inside, though, is probably what matters most to you guys. We've got Revolt Systems motor right there. I don't know if you can get that on camera. You guys can probably get that later and check that out. But that does offer us about 600 wheel horsepower. If you want to do the math on the 450 kilowatt conversion, you can. Has a full 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, so I'm getting all the strength, all the volts straight to the motor that it otherwise needs. It's a thirsty motor. We did a lot of custom stuff on this car, anything from all the billet work on the top. Part of that was because we didn't want to necessarily have just battery boxes sitting in a car. It's a modern hot rod, so you do want to celebrate part of the hot rod heritage, but don't be cheesy about it. All right, So there's no need to go throw on like fake exhaust headers or anything crazy about that. Just actually make it just like celebrate what the car is.
Yeah.
So that's where you see right here, like in this particular example, that piece, it follows a little bit of like an LT cowl. So it looks a bit more like a Corvette. So again, keeping in mind with what the car came from. Those Corvette owners that are worried about the fact that I took an original Corvette and made it electric, for what it's worth, if you do study a lot on Corvette history, the car itself and Chevrolet have been working with Corvettes and really using it as a test platform for any number of years. Fiberglass body came, if you read up on post-war era cars, ran out of sheet metal, so what else are you going to do with the body? Fiberglass, right?
Either fiberglass
so
or wood.
Think about just even starting with that. I could imagine sitting around the meeting table when the engineers are saying, hey, you know what, I'm thinking fiberglass. Somebody had to have thought that's crazy. But they went. It's not unlike even going for it today when we're making it electric. So in this case, we're going to put 900 foot-pounds of torque straight to the wheel. Let's talk about what that means for you. Take like a Tesla Model S with a large drive unit, right? If you know the weight of it, if you're watching this, it weighs about 4,800 pounds plus or minus some change depending on who's sitting in it.
Yep.
This car weighs 3,800 pounds. Same amount of power, 1,000 pounds less. So think about what that means for speed and performance. Performance taking advantage of the IRS system from Art Morrison, but also the overall power plant that's powering this vehicle. Sitting with a Torque Trends gearbox, which you guys check out over there later. All kinds of custom things that we did to the battery boxes to make them safe and secure. One of the couple things we had to like Rincon battery switches all over all the boxes, not just so it's when I'm not maintaining it, others are maintaining it, they can make sure that they're going to be safe. Autosport connectors and all kinds of other ways to really get into the batteries. And speaking of batteries, hopefully that camera's holding up okay.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about this interior though, man, because this interior is phenomenal. So who did the interior, and just tell me, how did you get these design cues?
Okay, so Ron Mangus, legendary interior builder for years. You can look up a lot of his work. He's done tons of Corvettes. In fact, so there's a few key things about this interior. Ron Mangus is really known for putting together interiors that not only hold up through the test of time, but also for maintenance and such. All these panels pop off. It's just a really sweet design. I brought in we wanted to have all the orange cues dropped in here just because it really carries forward not only some of the electric nature, but honestly it offset the blue. Which if you look up any stories about Dave, he's also a long-term Gaster racer. He's got the orange crate, really badass car. It is orange, so orange is his favorite color.
Yeah.
Other things in this interior that we tucked in here, we just wanted to mount the iPad so you can get quick vehicle settings if you want to read anything from the TTC controller. The Dakota digital gauges, those are custom from the Dakota custom shop. They do integrate directly with the AEM components. That was intentional because we chose AEM as our vehicle control system, so I can go ahead and just grab all the data I want off of it, and then also just throw it at the really, really beautiful gauge cluster.
Yeah.
Went for a Sparco steering wheel because it is still race. Want to have fun with it. It doesn't have to be fully resto mod, but we did also add the little orange stripe right up on top of the steering wheel just because it looks cool. There are 4 modules in the front, 4 modules in the center, right here, right behind the seat, hidden really well, and 8 in the back. Now you might be thinking that's a big weight distribution to be concerned about. The original Corvette had about 53% front weight by it. This car has now 57% rear weight by it. But we also put a 400-pound spring in the back to stiffen it up, which takes advantage of that. Now think about what I just told you though. We took a Corvette, added all the power of effectively like a Tesla or kind of Tesla Plaid level kind of power, and now weight distribution like a Porsche.
Yeah.
So this car drives not only like it's on rails thanks to the really stiff chassis with Art Morrison, but the overall performance of it is just unreal.
So I know you said it like it was easy there, like, oh, some modules here, some modules there, some modules there. How hard was that to really configure and do? Because it sounds easy, but I know it's definitely a hard process.
No, it's definitely took a lot of work. So this build took about 2 years. I spent at least about 3 months kind of designing, configuring, and figuring out the layout. I 3D scanned the entire chassis, scanned the body, designed the boxes, went back and forth with what kind of boxes to do to power this vehicle. There are lots of options out there. I think you'll see there's a Revolta over there. You see another set of battery modules that you can drop in. Legacy's got a really badass truck that's also, there's a lot of different ways that you can power these vehicles. In this case, I was just taking advantage of the Tesla battery modules because it's a known constant. They're proven already in a lot of vehicles. I just had to figure out how I made them fit. And so once I had the actual CAD files and design, that's when I went to physical mocks, put them in the car to try to see how do they actually work. Then I put the actual battery boxes in there, and then with Al and the fabrication team, figured out how we're actually going to really get down to the fine level detail of mounting all these components. So it's a process.
Now this is one of the things that, you know, when I walked up on the car, I looked at. So this is an original Corvette body. So if you can start here and look at this, right? This is fiberglass, right? And typically a body this old, it dries out, it cracks. And when you have these areas here, they crack and it spider webs the paint. And so for Al and Dave to bring this back to this kind of shine and smooth finish is unbelievable. And then when you get in here and you look at the fit and finish on the interior, a lot of times you'll see this piece and it's kind of wrinkled at the edges. It doesn't tuck all the way in. But if you look at this, this is the kind of fit and finish that really shows a high dollar build, a high quality build. And then, you know, we looked at the contrast and little things like these stripes, the stripes come down in the car and then they come together, come down in the car, and typically it would stop. But these go all the way through and carry that line all the way to the dash. And then notice they like emerge on the car again, which really completes the look. Typically that's where people would stop, but you got just a hint of orange in the door and the grab bar, and that right there pulls you into the car and makes you look at these details. So if that wasn't right, wasn't, you know, nice and finished, you'd see all these issues. So this car, super high quality build. You can't say enough about what you thought of and what Al and Dave over at AVS did. So this unbelievable whip. I want to ask you something. Now, from a wiring standpoint, I want you to look under that hood and tell me the difficulty, because he wires, I mean, he's wired, you know, 30, 40 cars. To make this car look like that, what is that task?
Well, you want to look at the wiring, but you can't see any of it. It's all super, well, you've seen how much wiring goes into one of these cars. The fact that there's none of that on display is a testament to the quality of the build, really. BMSs are out there in the open, which is, you want that if it's going to be a car you're going to work on, you're going to, tinker. You know, we're car guys, we like to tinker with stuff. So you can get in there, you can check your individual cell voltages, you can, you know, it's exactly how to do it, I reckon, in my opinion.
I have one more question before we let you go. Obviously, from the interior, right, the exterior, we got even the steering wheel, the seats, we got the battery, so many cool things about this car. A bunch of time invested into, obviously great team behind you as well. How much has been invested into this car so far?
I don't think it's the amount of the investment in the dollars. I think it's the amount of investment in passion and what you're doing. That's what matters, because that's what really shows up in the vehicles that you build. I mean, you could throw a lot of money at a car, and if you don't have the right passion behind it, it's just going to look like just a car with money. And I think that's when you can really tell the difference between a build that stands out and one that was just kind of like, we just kept dumping money on it because we were trying to find its identity. This one had an identity from the start. It had passion fueling it. That's exactly why you see how it showed up today. So, I mean, if you look around SEMA, all these cars are $1 million cars. They're not cheap cars here. So, but like, again, the difference is really how do you show up when you're making the build happen.
I'm gonna let them do the talking for this one, because I mean, this one is just, wow. It's even just looking at it, you can see what's really going on under here a little bit, but tell us what's really going on behind the scenes with this car.
Okay, what you have here is a 1965 Mustang. This car, a hot one, would have come with a 289 and would have probably made about, what, 150, 175 horsepower. This is a little better than 700 horsepower, all-wheel drive, and it has a Tesla small drive unit in front, small drive unit in the back. So if you come back here and look at this, first of all, look at how stiff this thing is. Now, this is a track car, but so it doesn't move. So that suspension will be adjusted a bit, but look at the suspension through there. So everything on this car has been changed, has been updated, has been, improved. It has a full roll cage and dual motors. So this thing is all-wheel drive. Now, I know it looks rough right now. It's supposed to. This is a project. This car, you guys will be here next year. This car will be in Battle of the Builders next year, and I am 100% confident that we'll be over there in Battle of the Builders when this car is finished. Now, I'll let the Welshman tell you about the battery placement and the wiring on it, because he's very experienced with it.
So this is a build that a different hot rod shop took on initially, who haven't done an electric car before, and they hit the same stumbling blocks that a lot of people do, where they get to the high voltage, the batteries, and they've not done it before, so they're inexperienced. So they not gave up. They realized they were out of their element and brought the car to us. So the selection of batteries they had was Tesla batteries. They are everywhere in this car. So you can see I've not got as much headroom as I normally would, because the floor's been raised. The entire floor is battery. This also, center console, is battery. And there's another 4 behind me. So this is a full 85 pack, so you got full, same range you would get in a proper OEM car. Shifter is the same thing as the Revolta, so you get park, reverse drive, all that stuff. And then front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, sport. The gauges are speed hut, so it's all the relevant information for your EV. You have motor temp at the front, motor temp at the back, you monitor state of charge. It's a weapon, it really is. I've looked at this car for so long that it looks normal to me, but you get the idea. It's a bit out there. It's hot rod
cooling.
stuff.
Most people don't know about cooling on an EV.
The cooling, that's a good point. The cooling on this one is way overkill, because it came from a hot rod shop with the hot rod mentality. Your hot rod needs a big radiator. These don't generate nearly as much heat as a proper, ICE motor, but they still need cooling. This radiator is probably 5 times as big as it needs to be. This upper radiator hose is way big. It's total overkill, but I mean, it looks great and it works, so it's staying.
So, again, this started off as a project in another shop, and they brought it to us to finish the electrification portion. But this thing is going to be unbelievably fast. We've test driven it a couple of times, and it's scary. This thing, it almost feels like the front is dragging the back. This thing is so fast. So if you guys get a chance, come out to California, we'll put you in here, strap you in, and let you feel what this actually, how hard it pulls. So I think that gets the gist of this. But at current electric vehicles, we don't just build cars, right? So if you look at that display, I have a 1962 Impala, right? And this grille is from a 1964 Impala. So these are all fully programmable LEDs and headlight. This was all developed in-house by our engineer, Nate. So Nathan designed all that, programmed it with another one of his associates, and that's the display you see here. So you could have, it flashes stop. He has another program where it looks like fire. This says back off. You can program it, fully programmable. These lights are so bright, at nighttime you'll be able to see tomorrow, right? So what we do is a lot of them. Now, you were asking about the BMS and the battery management and what's inside a battery box. This is what's inside a battery box. So you have contactors, you have your fuses, you have this is your charger, DC to DC converter. So everything is inside the box. This is your high amp fuse. So that's what's inside one of those boxes that you see in all of the cars. So one of the things with EVs, right, is just like a regular car, right, a regular ICE car. You got to have a steering wheel. You got to have an alternator. You got to have a radiator. You have to have a transmission. All those parts translate to EV. You have to have a high voltage, power supply. You have to have a motor. You have to have something to connect the motor to the drive, right? You have to have an alternator, DC to DC converter, right? So all these components, once you learn what's in an EV, they're in all EVs, whether it's that, this, or this. All those components are common. So that's what we do here at Current Electric Vehicle.
One question for over here. So obviously we were looking inside, and basically every place in the interior we see a shield, but really it's a battery, right?
Yeah.
So was this kind of, you would say, like the hardest configuration you guys had to do with putting the battery in here, putting different places and
Okay, so I brought Maggie in here. So Maggie is from ECC.
Oh, don't ask me any difficult questions now.
All right. So, but we're going to ask you a difficult question. Now, the reason I brought him over here to ask him this question, in the UK, they have much more stringent safety regulations than we do, right?
Very true.
So, what do you do to secure a battery, your electronics, keep the driver safe from high voltage? So can you tell us a little bit about that?
In the UK and Europe, we have a regulation called R100. We have to do our electric conversions to R100 Rev 1 compliance, and that includes a load of things like isolation testing and monitoring. You need to have a load of safety cutoffs in there. You need things like a G sensor, for instance. If the car has an impact, then the high voltage gets cut off. So we have rules. You guys are so lucky in America. It's
the Wild West.
Land of the hot rods. You can do whatever you like. It's fantastic. But unfortunately, unfortunately, and a good thing, we do have to build to quality and safety regulations in Europe.
Yeah. Now, the reason I asked him to say that and to show you guys what because in other places at Current, we go above and beyond, because we could take those batteries and strap them on top of that car with a zip tie, and it's legal.
Don't do that.
But we're not going to do that. No. So what we do is we go the extra mile, and we try to make sure that you have some sort of crash protection. Make sure that you're not going to get shocked, and we have the safety cutouts and stuff like that. So that's inertia. We have inertia switches, contactor in every single box. So if something happened in that box, it would cut off. Something happened in the front box, it would cut off and disconnect it from the rest of the system. So that's why I wanted to ask him, because they're required by law to have these features. And as a result, we've been talking to him for years, and we've seen many of the builds that he has done, and we realized that, well, at some point the quality thing is going to come over here, so let's get ahead of it.
Get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, so get ahead of the curve, and that's why we try to...
Give the customers the confidence as well,
Yeah.
in knowing that the safety features that they have in a conversion is going to be in line with the safety features you'd have in something like that Tesla that's behind us.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that, like I said, we pride ourselves on, is build the best car we can build. So if you took any one of our builds, you could go out and drive it in the rain. I don't recommend it. It's way too powerful, but you could, right? A lot of the conversions, you can't drive in the rain. You go through a puddle and whole car shorted out. So that's why, when you said, you asked me about the safety and, in placement of batteries, that's why I wanted to get his input.
Awesome. Well, even just the cars that we looked at, so far during this video, driving, you probably feel power, but being with you guys, I just feel passion. Right? I feel passion for what you guys do.
Yeah,
and
we are.
If you guys think today's video was crazy, interesting, your guys' YouTube channel has lots more of this stuff going a lot more in depth. So check out their YouTube channel. We'll put their website in the bio, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff. And if you guys have any last word to the people, now's your time.
Check out Current LA, check out our work, and if it's something that interests you, reach out. We're a busy shop. We're kind of looking for more people right now, so if it's something that's interesting to you, we'd love to educate you on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely check out Gas and Go with Snow on YouTube. We got a whole playlist dedicated to EV conversions, and definitely you want to check out his channel. What's your
Electric Classic Cars? Go and check out Electric Classic Cars, YouTube, Insta, socials. Yeah, we got some cool shit going on.
Oh yeah, they do. He's built electric Ferraris. He's built a Volkswagen. My favorite is that Defender when it runs off and leaves the 911.
I got the world's fastest Land Rover Defender. It does 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. I got the world's fastest VW Beetle, which is a 70s Beetle. It does 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds. That's
Crazy.
my daily driver.
That's
and I've done
crazy.
3 Ferrari Tesla Rosses. So yeah, we've done a lot of shit.
So check out Electric Classic Cars.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.